So today I'm going to show you how to knit this very sweet and very easy hat on the circular central knitting machine. This hat you can make any size you want, and it comes out very stretchy, so it could be even also for a child and also for an adult, depending on how long you make it or how short. And it's one layer of knitted, so it's very nice and light. It's not too heavy and it comes out very stretchy. And we're going to make the little pom-pom, and that's it. What we're going to need is the yarn, of course. I'm going to be using from Ice Yarns, Cakes Blues Baby, but you could use whichever you want. I do recommend that it should be I think it's a 4 weight, so that it should be nice and thickish, but not too thick. And so it comes out very nice and thick, but stretchy also. And a scissors, a needle, and if you have a pom-pom maker, so you can use that or whichever other way to make a pom-pom, even on your fingers or whatever you prefer. We're going to start with the cast on, and then we're going to be knitting from the bottom up, and the curl that becomes from the knitting, that's going to be the brim. We're going to start with the cast on row. Before we cast on, I want to make sure that I'm starting with the first hook, so let's find it. Here we go. This black one, that's the first hook. In whichever knitting machine you have, you should be able to tell which one is the first one. Either all of them are dark and this one is light, or like mine, all of them are white and this one is black. But you have some way to tell which one is the first one. So now we're going to start the cast on. The tail of the work goes inside, and the thread and the yarn, you're going to hook it up into this black one, like that. And now we're going to go back and forth on each hook until we do the whole first cast on row. So this one was in front. So now this, on the next one, it's going to go in the back. Careful because it's very loose over here. So do it very carefully and slowly. And we're starting to turn. This one is from front, next one to the back, next one to the front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back, going like this all around until we reach that first hook again. Here we go, I reached the black one. So now I'm going to secure the yarn inside this tunnel over here so that it could feed it nicely to the hooks. And I'm going to place it in the tension. I'm putting it in the second hole over here, but depending on what yarn you're using, that's the tension you're going to need for your project. And now we're going to start just turning around and around. On the first few rows, I recommend to do it slowly so that you make sure that nothing gets loose or comes off. There we go, slowly but surely. Here I came now to the first hook, and now it's a bit more to secure the stitches on. So now we're going to continue like this in the round for another 54 rows. So this one was considered the first row. If you have a built-in counter on your knitting machine, then that's great. That makes it much easier. If not, mine doesn't have, and a few of them don't have, then you could either count with your mouth, 1, 2, 3, or you could use a row counter if you have. I'm going to be just saying each row as I see the black one, because since the black one is the first one, So every time I come to it, I know that I'm beginning another row. So each time I see this one, I'm going to count until I get to 54 rows. The cast on row is not counted, and now we did another row, so that's the first one. So now we're starting this second row. So this is row number 2, and I do recommend pulling out, if you're center pulling, to pull out, or even if you're not, then just pull out some so that it should be nice and loose while it's turning around. It makes it much smoother and easier. Now I see the black one, so that means now I'm starting row 3. Here I came again to the black one, so now I'm starting row 4, and just continue on around like that until we get to 54 rows. Make sure to be looking the whole time, especially around the stitches that's next to where it goes in the yarn, because sometimes they slip and sometimes you find afterwards that it skipped a stitch. So it's much easier just to watch it the whole time and make sure that nothing's skipping and everyone's picking up their stitch as it should be. After we've completed 54 rows, now we're going to cast off. So I'm going to take and make a bit of a tail, a nice tail, so it shouldn't be short, and snip. There we go. And now we take the yarn out from the tension, and from here, right before the black one. So this was the last one, so we're going to make sure it stays into that one and put the tail inside. And now we're just going to turn one row around. Very carefully, because now it doesn't have the yarn, so it doesn't hold on too much. And right before you come to the first one, so stop. Here, I see now on mine that the first one already started coming off. So I'm just going to hook it back on. Okay. And now I'm going to take this yarn and take the needle. Put the yarn in the needle. And what I'm going to do, let me show you it close. If you see here under all the hooks, there are these two little things that hold the ring of the stitch. So what we're going to do with the needle is we're going to go through those two rings and pick up the stitch on the needle. So this one, the black one, is a bit protruding, so I can't take out the stitch yet, so I'm going to turn it just a little bit. No, actually I'm going to turn it backwards a little bit until it goes fully down, very carefully. Okay, and now I'll be able to take out this stitch. Okay. Oops. Here I have the first stitch on the needle, and very carefully make sure it's very loose, because if you tighten and you pull, then all the stitches are going to come off, and that's not good. So be sure to be very light and gentle with it. And now I'm going to go over here to the next one. Either I put my needle through the two things over here, through the two stumps over here, or just from around. I take off the stitch. Here's another one. And now the next one. There we go. And we're just going to go around the whole thing, taking off the stitches from the hooks, from those little pegs. Here's the next one. If you need more thread, you could pull it through, but very gently and very carefully. Okay. Here I'm coming close to the beginning. These ones that are still a bit up, so I'm just going to pull them over it. Careful it shouldn't get stuck. There's one. And the next one. There we go. And finally the last one. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to put away the knitting machine. We don't need it anymore. And now let me first pull the thread through, all the way through. And close it tightly. Now you stretch out the hat. There we go. And we're starting to see how it's coming out. And it's coming out beautifully. You could roll up the bottom already so you could see how it looks. Now if you want to do it without the pom-pom, that's fine. Just close up the top a little bit. I'm going to show you now how. And then your hat is done. But I'm going to show you how to add a pom-pom if you want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass the needle with the thread into the hole so that it should be on the inside. There we go. Here on the inside I'm going to tighten it even more so that there should be no hole over here. Here we go. And now I'm just going to go around, in and out a little bit around these stitches that are around the hole, just to tighten up the hole and make sure it doesn't open. There's really no rules to it. You just go in and out a few times until you feel it's tight enough. You could do from one side to cross over to the other side to make it more closed. However you like, just go around a few times. until you think it's closed enough. Okay, here we see it on the other side. It's nice and closed, and you could really leave it like that if you want. It's just as cute and just as sweet, but I'm going to add a pom-pom, so now let's get to that. We'll put this aside for now. I'm going to be making a very small pom-pom. You can make whichever size you want. Here we have these two like this. Line them up. And now I take my yarn. Oops. And start winding it around the pom-pom maker. Once the first side is wound up, I'm now going to cut and wind up on the second side. Okay, once that one's done, snip. And now I close the pom-pom maker. This one needs a bit force because I wound it up a lot. So I'm just going to push it until it can close with this little hook over here. Here we go. And now this side. There we go. And now we cut through the separation between them. There we go. Now even before I'm going to finish it, I'm going to start giving it a little bit of a haircut. Here you can see here it's a little bit uneven, so I'm just going to cut its hair a little bit. There we go. Try to make it as even as possible. Now let's see on this side also. Okay, and now you take a piece of yarn about this big, and now we're going to put it in between this separation over here. Pull it so that it comes to the other side. Oops. Again, we put it in on here and we pulled it until it came up to here. And now we're going to make 2 knots as tight as we can. One and 2. And I like to go again back to the other side and make another 2 knots. Should be on the other side also, just to be sure that it's nice and secure. So we turned it over, and now 1 and 2. Okay, now we could cut these. And now we take it off and see how our pom-pom came out. Open here these little hooks. Take off the first one. And the second one. And look at that magic. Here we have our little pom-pom. If you see that it's uneven, you could give it more of a haircut. Make it as even as you can or as you want. There we go. Oops. Okay. I think that's good enough for me. And now we're going to attach it to the hat. So we still have our thread with the needle from the top. Now we're going to pass it back to the outside because now it was from the inside. And now we're going to pass it from the inside to the out. But while we're doing so, try to find as much as you can the center. And while we're pulling, I'm going to put it into the pom-pom as well. Just inside the middle of the pom-pom. And oops. And pull it down. There we go. Okay. And now we're going to connect more of the pom-pom. So just where you came out of, a bit next to it, go down. Back into the hat, all the way inside. There we go. Pull, pull, pull. Make sure you're not pulling down too many of the frills of the pom-pom, because then it'll make it visible. There, that's visible. Now again, we're going to go from the inside through the pom-pom, out, and back inside. And again, you do this a few times until you feel that the pom-pom is nice and secure. Once you feel the pom-pom is secure enough, we're going to finish up over here. Just put it through a few times or make a knot. There you see, I pulled it through and made it into a knot. I'm going to do that one more time. Pull through and make it into a knot. Here we go. And now I'm just going to snip it off. And there's our pom-pom. Now all that's left to do is to sew in this little tail over here from the beginning. Now here you do need to pay attention because this tail, if you pull it too much, it's going to pull the whole hat on the bottom and make it tight. So make sure not to pull it. Make sure it's nice and loose, just like it was at the beginning. Just don't change it of how it was. Put it on the needle. And just try to sew it in a little bit. This is going to be hidden by the brim when it rolls up, so it doesn't really matter how you do it. Just make sure that you don't pull it tight. Just going to make a knot. like that. Let me do a few more. Now I'm just going to pass it through a few stitches and then cut it off. Oops. And there you have it, your hat is all done. Look how sweet and nice that is. And that only took me about half an hour to make. It is very easy and so sweet. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.